let's move on now to our fourth main topic today. And our fourth main topic today comes to us from Kevin Crutchfield, who writes, first time, long time. Well, thanks so much, Kevin. Saw on Superhero Hype that Sony wants Noah Centineo to play He-Man and got really interested due to his performance in the new Charlie's Angels reboot. Forgive my ignorance, but who? Maybe I'm out of the loop, but I have no idea who this guy is and doesn't really look like whom we'd expect to play He-Man, but I may be wrong. Also, interesting is that it says nothing about him playing Prince Adam. Would love your thoughts. Keep up the filthy, and you have the power. All right, thanks a lot for that, Kevin. And yes, for those of you who have not heard the news, and much like the pursuer goes, who? There's a guy named Noah Centineo who is now going to be playing. Apparently, he's been selected. Now they're just in the final talks and negotiations, but he's the guy they've picked. This is your new He-Man. So who is he? Well, I got this from Variety. Centineo most recently starred in Netflix's hit romantic comedies To All the Boys I've Loved Before and Sierra Burgess is a Loser. He'll next top line another rom-com, The Stand-In, and the sequel to All the Boys. And of course, he's going to be appearing apparently in the Charlie's Angels reboot as well. So, I have not watched, I gotta say, I've never watched To All the Boys. I've heard it's pretty good, though. I've heard To All the Boys I've Loved Before is pretty good. I've not seen, nor have I heard really anything. I've heard of Sierra Burgess' Loser. I've never watched it. I've never heard anybody talk about it. And other than that, so I really have no exposure to this kid, Rob. I have no exposure to this kid whatsoever. But I gotta say, this is your fucking He-Man? Like, what? Are you serious? Now, let me be very, very clear here. I cannot speak to this kid's acting talent, how bad it is or how fabulous it is, because I have not seen him perform in anything. So I am not referring to his acting talent whatsoever. And I always say, hey, as long as you get a good actor in a role, there you go. But even within that, when you look at He-Man, something that is intrinsically connected to the character, a core part of who and what He-Man is, the thing that we've identified as a major significant element of He-Man since we were kids, is he's He-Man. He is the biggest, buffest, ultimate warrior in all of Eternia. He is He-Man. This kid ain't He-Man. So I have two thoughts here, Rob, and I want to hear what you have to say on this. But here are my two thoughts. Number one, either Sony is taking a drastic departure from our understanding of He-Man, is going to do something completely different and make He-Man kind of like what they did with Catwoman in Halle Berry's Catwoman. They took a total departure from the character, made something completely different. Now, we all know how that turned out, but still. Maybe Sony's doing a complete departure from our understanding of He-Man, and maybe there's that. My second thought is this, though, Rob. And this is honestly where my head's kind of leaning, although I've read nothing that confirms this or gives any indication of this, but it is my speculation. I think Sony is going to pull a little bit of a Shazam here, where this kid is the star of He-Man, but he's Prince Adam. And instead, because look, one of the funniest things about He-Man, always, that even as a kid I recognized was really dumb, like at least Superman put on the glasses. You know, I'm Superman, I'm Clark Kent. I'm Superman, I'm Clark Kent. Like at least he put on the glasses. He-Man still had the same long bowl haircut. He-Man there was nothing that looked different between Prince Adam and He-Man. He had the same build, he had the same face, he had the same hair. He spoke a little bit differently. Who doesn't know that Prince Adam is He-Man, right? So what you've got now is Shazam coming out. Everybody's buzzing about it. It looks great. The idea of a younger kid that turns into a mightier superhero. And that is a principle in Masters of the Universe. That's supposed to be Prince Adam, who becomes He-Man by holding aloft the sword given to him by the sorceress and saying, I have the power, and the power of Grayskull flows, and he becomes He-Man. I have to hope and believe that that's what's happening here. or it's going to be a complete departure. Because, hey, look, you can put somebody in the hands of the great Hollywood trainers and bulk them up a bit, but this kid doesn't need a little bit of bulking up. This kid's not He-Man. I mean, it's not He-Man. So I don't know, Rob, what do you think? And he may be the greatest actor in the world. Again, I am not referring to his acting talent. I'm unaware of his acting talent. He may be the best. But for something so core to the DNA of who this character is, such as the physicality of He-Man, I mean, I don't know, Rob. You heard about this. You read about this. Calm me down a little bit here. What are we looking at here? What's going on with this?
Well, to me, he looks like, somebody who showed up on the third season of the Jersey Shore and dated Snooki. I mean, I at least that's the picture you showed. That's kind of what I thought of.
Snooki.
We're looking at, remember, Masters of the Universe that came out 32 years ago starred Dolph Lundgren. And while he might have not been the greatest actor, I mean, the guy looked the part. No one said, that's not He-Man.
Right.
Now, unless they have an approach, I think what you just said is pretty astute. They might even have a CGI assist, maybe go a little Hulkish with He-Man. I don't know. That might be weird. But it really depends on the tone. I mean, I've always thought if you're going to do He-Man and to create, like I read this script years ago called Grayskull that I actually thought was really good.
Right.
And it was a very much an epic fantasy portrayal of He-Man. It was on the heels of Lord of the Rings. They knew what audiences wanted. They wanted a serious take. But we're talking about a property that's called He-Man that is by definition somewhat goofy, based on a series of toys that were always goofy, and the cartoon series was goofier still. And I think that the tone that they strike is really going to be like, I think making a He-Man movie and making it totally serious, like we're going to go Lord of the Rings style, apocalyptic, the world is ending, is probably a mistake. And I think what you said about Shazamming it up is pretty astute. And if they're going to cast this guy, obviously, look, when they're going to spend this much money, this is not a movie that's going to cost 40 or 50 million bucks. This is going to be $150 million plus epic fantasy movie. So the person they put front and center is really, really important. So I would trust the same way I trusted in Heath Ledger, because I was a Heath Ledger fan when they cast him to play the Joker. I would trust that there's something going on here that they know that we don't. And maybe they've seen this guy. He did a screen test. He's had to be vetted by the studios and the people that are going to be spending this money. So their approach to the material, as you've pointed out, must have something to do with this guy who really doesn't look the part. They must have seen something that we haven't yet seen. It's just like people were bitching and moaning about the Shazam suit when they first saw spy photos of it, behind the scenes photos of it. I think if they're going to move forward with this, we have to trust in their vision. But like you, where's the He-Man here? I don't know.
Yeah. And look, and to be fair, there's not a lot of actors in Hollywood that are built like a He-Man. I mean, there's not a lot of like Chris Hemsworths out there. No. There's not many of them, right? And you can't just go to Chris Hemsworth every time you need a big guy or anything like that.
Although he'd be a great He-Man.
Oh, he would be a wonderful He-Man. I guess John Cena would be an actor. You could do something like that, but I know. Or you could go with the approach the approach they took for the first Conan the Barbarian. Arnold Schwarzenegger is not a good actor, especially in that time, right?
He owned that part, though.
But they minimized. How long was it into the movie? Like, it was considerable runtime of the movie before he ever spoke his first line, right? So they minimized how many lines he had. They didn't give him a 3-4 paragraphs long dialogue. They gave him short one lines, blah, 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 and he looked apart. So I don't know if you got to do that. I mean, I don't know what the solution here is. Again, I'm going to go on the assumption that this is going to be a Prince Adam transformation situation. Mm-hmm. You can't do what they did in Shazam by putting a foam bodysuit on him, because He-Man, he's supposed to not have any shirt on, right? He's supposed to be this big muscular dude.
Well, yeah, Zachary Levi's a big dude. He worked out a lot, long and hard to play that part, and I agree with you. I mean, you got to have the He-Man accoutrements. You got to have the the cross, that armor where his chest, his pecs are flying out, and
it can be different. You can vary it up. It doesn't have to look exactly like it does in the cartoon. You can make changes and differences. That's fine, just as long as when you look at it, you go, "That's He-Man." I mean, that's all you got to do. I don't know. I just found this to be very, very interesting. But if they are going the Prince Adam route, where this kid is actually playing Prince Adam, and then at times in the movie he transforms into He-Man, then that makes perfect sense. And it's capitalizing on something that's popular right now, because I think Shazam's going to be a big hit. So it's capitalizing on something like that. It fits narratively. It corrects a major problem with the original animated thing where Prince Adam looks exactly like He-Man. How can nobody know that they're the same thing? It actually fixes that problem. And maybe this kid's a really good actor and he's the perfect guy to play Prince Adam. I wish I could be a fly on the wall in the studios of Sony right now to know what it is they're thinking at this point. But we will find out soon enough.
Well, also, if you think about it, Sony had success with Venom. And what we're talking about is a normal person turning into Venom. I mean, it's through CG, a human being becoming a CG character. Maybe they're doing something... the real world and Eternia is animated or something. It's they're going to Warcraft it up. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he could be CG. He could turn into He-Man and be a CG character. So, which still kind of goes the Adam into He-Man transformation route, whether it's a different actor, whether it's CG, whatever. And if that's the case, then this is Much Ado About Nothing. Then this kid might be the perfect choice for it. So I'm trying to stay optimistic here, Rob. I'm all
about Merman, dude. Who's playing Merman and
or Manny Faces,
Manny Faces,
Lockjaw, or so many of these. So on the Merman,
Evil Lynn.
Evil
I want to know who's playing
Lynn.
Evil Lynn. If you know what I'm
saying. With her, like what's the wording for it? The BSMD or what the people who are into tight leather and whips
BDSM.
Or whatever. BDSM, the Evil Lynn, totally BDSM.
Yeah,
there you go, Evil Lynn.
Not that I would know any of that.